Welcome. I'm Nick Moss, the Director of Christian Education.
And I'm Drew Boggs, the DCE intern here at St. Paul.
And that took us about 22 takes just to get that. So, we're going to play a little game. I've got a card here, right here, a joker. And so every time you see me hold up this card, that means we messed up. So, count how many times we messed up. We're not that perfect, are we?
No.
No, we're not.
Not at all.
Not at all. So, we're going to give people of St. Paul a little bit of an idea in our world in the Christian education realm of things that are going on. So first, Drew, I'm going to put you on the spot. I got a couple things I want to talk to you about that you're responsible for. First of all, you're 6 months into your internship.
That's right, halfway done.
Halfway done. On a scale of 1 to 10, and I didn't tell you ahead of time, how do you think things are going?
I would say probably a 10.
Wow. Good brownie points. He has his evaluation coming up. So
that's right.
There's a couple of things that you're responsible for. Children's Church is one of them. Just tell people what's Children's Church and kind of our philosophy on that.
So Children's Church is the time in the service when the children leave the service and have a lesson that's more according to their age range. And so they see a video of usually what we just read in the gospel. And something that we're trying to do this semester is connect the children's sermon with the children's church. And so the video that is up on the screen, we try to connect that to what they're learning in their lesson.
Yep.
And so part of that is we have a handful of adult volunteers. And so they are getting the chance to also know more kids in the congregation. And so if you would like to volunteer, please let me know. You can contact me through my email.
So, Drew, about Children's Church, people volunteering, how hard is it to volunteer for Children's Church?
It's actually really easy. And so, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say it's a 10.
On hard or easy?
On the easy.
Okay. It is because Drew puts all the material together. You're there for 20 minutes. Drew does a little introduction with all the kids, and then they break into 2 age groups, and then there's a tiny little lesson that goes with it. So we need people to help with that. And, I mean, you could do it even once a month, once every 6 weeks, once every 8 weeks, right?
Yeah. And the kids are really fun, too. They enjoy watching the videos and doing the coloring pages and that sort of thing.
Yep. So middle school youth ministry is also something you're over this year. What's been going on with that?
So we've been doing middle school youth nights every other Friday night about those last for 3 hours. First 2 hours are games and a devotion. And a meal, and then the final hour is small groups. And so what we do is we break up the kids, and I probably shouldn't say break up the kids, but we separate the kids, and they are able to answer some questions about the devotion, and so they're able to interact with it on a more personal level.
Yeah, and so middle school, and it's for any middle schooler. It doesn't have to be just go to our school.
That's right. Any middle schooler ages 6th to 8th grade.
Ages, that's not right.
Grades 6 to 8.
So, internship is a year process. What's going on? You're heading back to Nebraska here next week. What's that for?
Yeah, so next week I have mid-year, and so all of the interns from around America come back to Concordia, Nebraska, and we meet with our supervisor and the director of the DC program there, and we meet with each other. We meet with our professors, and we meet with the man who decides where we end up in the future.
Yeah, so talk about that, because the relationship that you have with St. Paul is a 1-year agreement with Concordia, Nebraska, and so that ends in July. And what are you now? You're in the process of starting to think about, what do I do after my year here at St. Paul?
Right. So I could either end up going to another church, taking a call there, or I could do something outside of that, and I'm looking at doing mission work through an organization. And so next year, I'll be doing that.
So tell me more about what mission organization or what type of mission work you think you might be doing.
So I'm looking at working with Mission of Christ Network, going down to Costa Rica, and there I would be leading mission trips in the area. Mm-hmm. And so teams would come down to us, and we would find mission work for them to do, to work with the people down there. And I would also be helping the locals learn English. And so I would be having conversations with them so that they can have practice with that.
How good your Spanish?
My Spanish is probably, on a scale from 1 to 10, probably a 1.5, or as they say, 1.5.
Bueno. So I'm going to go on and talk about what we just came back from, which was a National Association of DCE Conference. I know it's a mouthful, but the DCEs in our city get together every 2 years and have a conference. And this conference was in Fort Collins, Colorado. So we just got back from Colorado. And it was 2.5 days, 3 days of really good speakers and fellowship with our fellow DCEs. There are about 160 of us out there. And one of the things that I took away, we spent a lot of time on talking coronavirus and generations and how it affects each one and how to minister to and connect generations together, especially during a coronavirus pandemic. And there were 3 things that I picked up on that one of the speakers said, what people need during a disruption. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a worldwide pandemic, but one is context, and this offers perspective. And so how can the church offer context when it comes to a pandemic? 2 is application. How do we offer clarity? And so how can the church offer clarity in this pandemic? And finally, belief, and that offers hope. And obviously, as a church, we have the hope of Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. And so we can offer that to people. We can help people apply their context, how, Romans 8 talks about God works through good, through all bad circumstances, and then context, offering perspective. And then you have generations, you have people here that have lived through hard times. We have people in our church that have gone through wars and deaths and horrible experiences, and they can offer perspective to our younger generations in that. What was one of the things that you picked up on or something that stood out to you from the conference?
Well, we talked a lot about psychology as a culture.
Yep.
And so one of the things I took away was this idea of we're in this time that is difficult, but we've been through times that have been difficult in the past. Maybe they look different, but we can take strategies such as looking back at those times we've already been through and learn from those and use them now. And so knowing that we can overcome hard things and knowing that God has a big role to play in that and that he's gotten us through a lot of things and he can get us through this.
Right. And one of the things through that, those conversations was we have people in older generations that need to share those stories with the younger generations of how God has walked with them through hard times. And not that it's going to be okay, but it is going to be okay in the sense of the hope that we have in Jesus, meaning that God will never leave us nor forsake us. Mm-hmm. So we had a great conference there. Looking forward to another conference coming up, Best Practices, which is in next month that some of us will be going on, and looking forward to sharing some stuff from that conference as well. A couple more things in the DCE realm is we've got Planning for Vacation Bible School coming up, LCMS youth gathering for our high school students. We've got about 40 high schoolers signed up for that. With adults, there'll be close to 50 people. We had a rummage sale. We raised over like $13,500. Thank you, St. Paul, for all of your support in that. We'll have another fundraiser coming up in a couple of months. So we're excited about that. That's in July. That's going to be your last event with us. You're going to go with us, and that'll be Drew's last hurrah, and that's in Houston, Texas, the middle of July. So we're excited about that. When we were talking at this past conference, we were talking about connecting families. And so Drew and I are going to spend the next couple of months, how do we continue to connect families coming out, still living in this coronavirus pandemic? And one of the things that we can do is offer resources to families to connect each other in the household and then even extended families to the Word of God. And what does that look like? And I think there's some neat opportunities that we can have. Not only connecting people here on campus, but also resourcing people to connect in their faith, just like we do in confirmation. Confirmation is our 6th and 7th grade program where the students come, the families come, we connect them 6 weeks in the fall, 6 weeks in the spring, but then they take home that workbook and they work through it as a family and they have faith discussions as a family. So looking forward to that. If you have any questions about what we're doing, please don't hesitate to reach out to Drew or myself. I'm going to do a little something. If you stayed with us this whole time, which I'm impressed, by the way, here's what I want you to do. I want you to come up to Drew. I'm going to pick a random card here. And we'll pick this one. If you say the 7 of spades, if you come up to Drew anytime over the next, couple of weeks after watching this, so if it's past February, you're too late, and you say 7 of spades, he has to tell you a fun fact about himself. Are you ready?
I'll think of some fun facts.
So 7 of spades, you just go walk right up to him, and he has to think of a fun fact about himself. And it'll also kind of maybe be weird to the people around you, and they'll wonder why that just happened. But we're excited about the next couple of months to see what's going on in children youth ministry, as well as ministry in the church around education. And so God's blessings as we continue to walk together in this place.